When Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma, when they would get scared on occasion, it was one of those high flying 50-47 type games. But the new Oklahoma, playing some defense, gets scared by Houston last week, and it's a 16-12 mud bath. And Oklahoma, a beat up football team, losing four of its top five wide receivers. They're down a couple offensive linemen as well, taking on a pretty game Tulane team that almost knocked off Kansas State again for the second time in 3 years last weekend. Tulane at Oklahoma. And we get Steve Merrill, of course, on the line from Wager Talk to break it down for us. And Steve, this is a tricky one, possibly.
Yeah, these teams played 3 years ago in September, and Tulane was a 31-point road underdog, and they only lost 40-35. So Tulane has given them trouble in recent years. That was a very high-scoring game, obviously. You mentioned that the Oklahoma offense, really just the team in general, is beat up right now. And that 16-point showing was not good last week. I always say it's a huge red flag for me when a team doesn't even score the point spread, let alone almost half the point spread. And that's what happened. They were just below a 4-touchdown favorite last week, a 27.5-point favorite at home against Houston. Only won the game 16-12. I did have a best bet on Oklahoma in week one, that Friday night game against Temple for my clients at wagertalk.com. 42-point favorite. They won 51-3. That was as much a play against Temple than it was a play on Oklahoma for me. My database simulation, 10,000 games simulated through the database, does has Oklahoma winning by 21.5 points on average. So the line value is with the Sooners. And I do factor in some of the injuries, but not completely. Is it worth an 8-point move? Probably not. So I do think at this point we're starting to get some value with Oklahoma. I know this is one of those hold your nose type plays when they only scored 16 last week, but I do think this line has been vastly underadjusted. It even opened 14.5, it's already down to 13.5, 13. So we're getting below that key number of 14 now. We're getting almost a touchdown in line value based on my ratings. And you also do have to worry about Tulane's not their motivation, but their mindset here. After leading a good amount of that game, they had the lead in the fourth quarter, 27-20, and then gave up the final 14 points to lose that game to Kansas State, as you mentioned. I actually like Oklahoma in this spot. Might have to hold our nose to pull the trigger, and maybe not a best bet because of the uncertainty, but I do think the value is now the line values with the Sooners.
And that's where we get the rationale from you, Steve, because I think a lot of people out there in the public betting react and respond from week to week, and they see Tulane go out there, take on a Kansas State team, as you mentioned, lead by double digits, only lose by a touchdown. We see the horrible Oklahoma performance, and they put two and two together as Kansas State and Oklahoma, roughly the same team, 15th, 20th best team in the country, and figure this is a good play for Tulane with almost two touchdowns. However, got to look at the big picture. Obviously, Tulane was able to pull off that near upset at home, and they're traveling to Oklahoma to take the Sooners on the road. Steve Merrill's work is at wagertalk.com. Steve, you have anything else on this one?
Well, I was just going to say, it's interesting you say that they're kind of equal teams because Tulane was about a 9.5-point underdog at home last week. And if you factor in 2 to 3 points each way, that'd be 14 or 15-point line. And now it's only 13. So it has been discounted, like you're saying, based on last week's results.
Catch Steve's work at Wager Talk. And again, the under the radar selection, folks, lock in on it. It's exclusive right here at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate Steve doing this for us. And he's 23-5 against the spread. I still don't believe it every time I spit it out. 23-5 against the spread, 2-0 this season. You get that under the radar selection right here at the Voice of College Football, and we tell you about it right now. College football is even more exciting with some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last two seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.